Hey guys, really quickly before the video starts, I just unlocked 2 emotes on Twitch, so now I have 3 emote slots, and I'm about to get a 4th, so if you guys want to submit emotes to me that I can approve, I think what people want is like 2 more dumb stupid faces of mine as like reactions, or I'll take anything. I've thought about doing Chitoge or a rat or whatever. So if you guys have any faces you think that could make a good emote, if you just send them to me, either through Discord or Twitter or whatever, I would really appreciate that. And I mean, I'm sure there aren't gonna be many people sending me an emote, so anyone who sends an emote has a higher chance of their emote getting picked. Either way, thank you guys very much for the support on Twitch, and I hope you guys enjoy the chapter review. Hey friends, what's up? It's me, Vindivondo, everyone's favorite rat, making another chapter review. This is an exciting one, because it's the end of Kimetsu no Yaiba, and we have a new manga, Time Paradox Ghostwriter, which I'm excited about. So, let's just get into it, I guess. I don't really have much more to say, especially when it comes to, comments, because there were like 3 comments on YouTube last week. So yeah, let's just jump into the chapters, and we'll start with One Piece. You know what, I clicked on the old One Piece. You're right. Alright, I take it back. I'm retarded. I was reading the last One Piece chapter and didn't realize because I didn't read a page of it. We're starting with haikyuu because I'm an idiot. This haikyuu chapter was really fucking good. What I like is that, I mean, it's about Hoshiumi, but a lot of the principles you can apply to Hoshiumi, you can also apply to Hinata, which I think make it really interesting, right? Because like the chapter is about Hoshiumi fighting through a height difference, right? And as always, you get to see some like cool volleyball techniques and shit. But what I like about it is that Hoshiumi's trying to prove that he's not, what's the way to describe it? Being short's a disadvantage, but it isn't a sign of incompetence, right? He's trying to prove that he can be better than all of the tall guys. Which is great because like I like that specifically him and Hinata had like a fight at the top, because I think that shows like both of them are kind of doing the same thing, right? And Hoshiumi might eke one out, but Hinata could eke out another one, like if you go back, yeah, just I think that just that entire idea of like these short guys have to prove their place on the court is really cool. And that's why I really like the line where Hoshiumi says like, if he can't make this count, then he won't have a place on the court tomorrow. But he also says that if he's so bad he can't make it, he won't need a place. Because what I like about that is like, it's, Hoshiumi recognizes like, because I'm short, I have to be good. Otherwise, they would just replace me for someone tall and good. So he has to be, like, on the level of or better than the tall guys to be able to have a place on the court and to deserve a place on the court. I think that's, like, really cool and really fun. And I really like that, like, the chapter is about Hoshiumi, but you can also apply what's going on with it to Hinata. I think is, like, really cool. Another moment I like is that I like the fact that after Hoshiumi goes up and like scores against Hinata, the 2 people laughing are the Little Giant and the Shiratorizawa coach, which are 2 people that we've seen in the past have felt like their height was something that holds them back, or have tried to play volleyball in spite of their height. And both of them were people who gave up. Like, the coach just gave up and thinks that big people are better. And you even see that the Little Giant says that, the further you go, the bigger, the faster, and the smarter your opponents get. And he thought he had to rely on skill and technique to make up for his lack of height. And then he realized that, like, anyone can be good. Anyone can practice and have that technique. So at a certain point, your technique, even if you're short, you have good technique. When you get to top with good technique, you have to have even better technique. And so it's fun seeing them laugh, because it's the 2 of them who are both people who felt like their height put them at too much of a disadvantage, seeing on one of the, best stages in Japan, seeing 2 small people go at it. It is really cool. I actually really like it. and I think that it does a lot of good things. So, that's how I feel about haikyuu. I thought it was a really, really good chapter. But that's all I have to say for that. So now it's time for MHA. Okay, so I liked this chapter quite a bit. Tokoyami was really cool in it. I like that he, there was a cool like primal Tokoyami on as like the little cover page. I like that he, goes to save Hawks. And I thought it was cool that he, like, one just cool like little quirk thing was when he had his shadow like hold on to the bar as he jumped down. One thing I will say is that I think okay, so it mentions that Dabby can't continue to use his flames, right? They become weaker and you can't fire them off all in a row. That makes me wonder, is it like what you see with Endeavor and Todoroki, where they need to like they can only do so much at a time, right? Like when they have too much fire, it starts to be a problem, or too much ice, and then they get too cold. But then there's also now someone else with an ice quirk, so now it's like getting really complicated as to the idea of who's Endeavor's other kid that's 100% going to be a villain in this arc, I think. But I'm not sure. I mean, I assume it'll be Dabby, because I think that makes the most sense. But, I mean, I'm just not too sure. I liked, that seeing, like, Dabby stand there with twice his body and talk about how, that was the whole thing. Needs to recharge. Well, I guess, what, is Todoroki's mentioned as, like, an MP bar? Or is that how it's... Because Todoroki has one of those things. And then I like the moment where, like, near the end of the chapter, Todoroki tells Hawks that, like, you did the right thing, like, don't die. He believes in him. This chapter did have a massive Mount Lady ass, which is pretty respectable. Horikoshi, I love it. You're really doing God's work for us. See, because what he says is, like, he saw us coming, so he made those last two blasts weaker to save some gas in the tank, right? And, like, the thought that gives me is that, like, it's an MP sit, like, it's like he has so much he can use, and after that he's done, which is very much how Endeavor and Todoroki's is described as. So I think that that's most likely what it is. Which, if his quirk is, like, almost the exact same as Endeavor's, then it wouldn't be a surprise that he's Endeavor's kid. Todoroki's problem was if he uses too much, he starts to burn himself. If he uses too much ice, he starts to freeze himself. Yeah, right. But, like, when you look at Endeavor, right, like, it's described in the school festival that for Todoroki and Endeavor, like, their quirk is like an MP bar in a video game. Like, they have so much of it, when they use too much, their body starts to break and they can't use anymore. All we know of Dabby is that he can only use so much, and we don't know what happens if he overuses. So I think it's safe to assume that it's probably the same thing. If not at least similar, right? Like, we don't know what happens if he goes over his limit, right? Can he not use his quirk? Does it start affecting his body? Is that why he's all burned all over? We don't know. It sounds similar enough that I think it's at least worth entertaining the possibility of it being the same. Is that true? I mean, when you look at the when you look at this panel right here, right? Like, it says, like, it looks like his hand, I mean, it could just be the fire he's doing, but the fire starts here. It looks like he could be burning up a little bit, right? Which could explain the fire, right? If it's him using the fire, too much causes him to burn. I don't know if it's for sure that. I just think that that's, like, definitely a possibility. And since I want to run with this, like, running theory that, Dabby is Endeavor's son, I'm going to constantly say it so that I can pretend to be smart. And then if I'm wrong, I can say, well, it's unlucky. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that could potentially be what the burns come from. is his quirk burns him from overuse, right? I think it's definitely a possibility. And then the chapter ends with Gigantomachia standing up. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'm excited now that Gigantomachia is back, but I mean, they can't go more than like 3 chapters now. Well, because Gigantomachia wakes up because he smells Shigaraki. So, you know, we need to get back to Shigaraki at some point and see him having killed everyone. What the fuck was that? Maybe it's Blue Flame. Perhaps it just insta-burns since Blue Flames are more intense. Is every quirk is different? I think like every quirk is like slightly different, but I think they're like very similar. Like, it's described that like you have almost the same, if not very similar, to the quirks of your parents, which is why like Todoroki. It's why Endeavor wanted to use eugenics and marry an ice person, because he was like, okay, well, if my quirk overheats my body, and I marry someone whose quirk makes their body too cold, a kid with both of our quirks would be able to counteract those. Right? So I think it's basically described that Endeavor and Todoroki's quirks are like almost the exact same, down to the fact that, you know, he calls it his dad's flame. I think that within like familial things, I think they're very similar, if not the exact same, but I don't know. His quirk is supposed to be the exact same as his brother. Yeah, so I think family quirks are supposed to be the same, but I'm not too sure. That being said, yeah, exactly. I think it's very possible that it's like the exact same. Is either the same quirk, a mix of the two, parent or an evolution? Yeah. So I mean, again, like I think that that's a super possible theory to work with moving forwards, especially now that we've heard a little bit more about Dabi's quirk. We'll just have to see, I think, with that where it plays out. But I think that's all I really have to say for MHA. So let's move on to what's next. Black Clover. All right, this Black Clover chapter is pretty funny. I enjoyed it. At first, it starts with like this super hot girl that I like super stan, and then I just like Charmy. I think Charmy fights are always funny, and I like that, you know, it becomes like this, you know, she's like, oh, it's all about, you know, beauty, and you're just fat and ugly, and then Charmy fucking hulks out, powers up, cooks her ass, and then fucking turns her hair into spaghetti and beats the shit out of her. Like, hello, that shit's so funny, dude. I love it. Like, it's just a really entertaining chapter, you know? And I mean, we get to see a little bit more about Charmy. You know, we see some of the people that raised her. We see, like, you know, how much she cares about food, and that's, like, her entire reason for fighting. And it was just a fun, you know, funny chapter. I mean, it's weird to say because it was a fight, but, like, you know, the hair turns into spaghetti. Charmy just beats the shit out of this girl. Her face at the end kind of reminds me of One Piece a little bit, like the girl that gets the shit beat out of her. Her, like, the way her face is, like, puffed up, I've seen in One Piece, like, a million times. It's pretty fun. Like, I enjoy the chapter. What was telling me yesterday, apparently people didn't like it, but I don't know why. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought it was super fun. So, you know, I mean, that's really most of it. I do like that Charmy goes from having a sheep to a wolf, you know? Like, it's literally like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's pretty funny, but, you know, that's most of what I have to say about Black Clover. I mean, it sucks, because, like, Black Clover is really fun, but it was, you know, like a 15-page little fun chapter. And, I mean, Tabata's been going through a lot, right? Like, he's been saying he's been passing out at his desk, and he apologized for the chapters, and then I know he said this week that his stepdad died. Or it was either stepfather or father-in-law, I can't remember which one, died. And, like, you know, that's a lot to all deal with. Like, this man needs to take a break for, like, a month or something and kind of just, like, rest and relax. Especially now that Black Clover's at fucking 250 chapters. Mans needs a break, I think. It was stepdad? Okay, yeah, that's rough. Like, yeah, I mean, Tabata, please. Well, now someone's saying father-in-law, now someone's saying stepdad. Do y'all know the difference between a father-in-law and a stepdad? Or You thought it was father-in-law? Well, we'll know later. But either way, it's not easy to deal with. He's been going through a lot, and he clearly, the chapters haven't been super long page-wise, so Tabata probably needs a little bit. That being said, that's all I have to say for Black Clover. So now let's read the last chapter of Kimetsu. For Kimetsu, I do want to say I did just finish rereading the entire manga last night, except for this last chapter. A lot of the problems I had, I don't necessarily have anymore, and I think I figured out kind of my issue with the manga. And there will be a video next week sometime where I kind of review the manga as a whole and talk more about it. But so for this review, I'm only going to talk really about the last chapter, as opposed to the manga as a whole, because I'm planning something on the manga as a whole soon. So I'll just talk about the last chapter, maybe mention some other things, but that'll mainly be what I'm talking about. So let's read this shit. No, 0 out of 10. Okay, so here's the one thing I will say. Again, I said I was gonna talk about Kimetsu as a whole. I think that this chapter has a lot of the same issues that I think Kimetsu does, where like the entire point of this chapter is that like everyone got reincarnated into a happier life when they don't have to deal with the demons, right? And so it's showing us like, I think that like Kimetsu shows you bits and pieces of like this kind of life that they could have, where like we'll see like a little bit of the fun. We see some of that in the last chapter before this, where we see Inosuke, Nezuko, Zenitsu, and Tanjiro all go live together in the mountains and just have a fun time together. And I think that it's interesting because when you look at it now, it's very clearly everyone gets reincarnated, right? Like it's Nezuko, it's Zenitsu, Tanjiro, Inosuke, the love pillar, you see the stone pillar, snake pillar, like everyone is here from the manga, right? And we see that, everyone kind of has what they want, which is I think like the most interesting part, right? Is, you look at like, the flame pillar and snake pillar get to live together and just cook food for people, and they get that, right? You see that, Tomoko's the great grandfather of the current generation. Well, then, I mean, of whose current generation? Wait. And like, you see, did you not say that? You might have? Well, I mean, it's great grandfather's novel of lies, so I think it's everyone's great grandfathers, right? Because the Nezuko and Zenitsu, it's their great grandfather was Zenitsu, right? Kamado very clearly, like the Tanjiro and the Kamado are very clearly on the Tanjiro and Kamado's line of people going down. And what's interesting is like we see the ninja man with 3 wives is like a gymnast, and you see this like everyone has a happier life now. The 2 brothers, the Wind Pillar and Genya, are together now, right? Because they're able to be together, which is all they ever wanted. Like everyone kind of was able to do their goals, because when they got reincarnated in a world without demons, the demons didn't come interfere, and they were able to live their lives how they wanted. One thing that was like a little touch that I fucking loved is that Ubuyashiki is the longest living Japanese person ever, which is super fun because the reason that like it's explained earlier in the manga that they all die out quickly and that they all die young is because their family is what, like, Muzan was from their family, so they were cursed to always die young until they did what they could to stop Muzan. Once they stopped Muzan, they lived for a long time as like a blessing for having done that. I don't think Gotoge's next series should be a slice of life following these characters. And I think people saying that, it's like obviously it's a funny joke, but like the point of this manga is specifically showing these reincarnations are happier in a world without demons. It's why we see like now Flame Pillar and Tanjiro are like friends, because they get to be together. And you just see everyone is much happier now in this world, and that's something that like kind of stuck with them. And I think that's like really, really cool. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is the reincarnate, because I mentioned that, right? That he was reading Legend of Zenitsu, So Zenitsu's reincarnation was reading his version, which is why what I think is interesting is like, you know, I wonder how much of it was, you know, embellished or whatever, but yeah, I think that was very clear what was going on. And I like the last chapter for what the purpose it serves. I don't think it's as bad as it is, right? But again, I think it has, you know, the main problem that Gotoge has the whole time, where like there's one line that makes everything make sense, or that makes everything. Where is it? It's specifically the part where it mentions reincarnation. Yeah. He says, do you believe in reincarnation? I believe that everyone who fought the demons and died for a peaceful world was reborn to a happier life. And that's like the whole point. And at least that one, it goes a little bit more into it. I think Kimetsu has that problem, but in a larger scale the rest of the time. But I definitely don't think this last chapter is bad at all, actually. I like what it's going for. Which is surprising, because I was definitely expecting to hate it. And now I'm definitely on the other side. I understand if someone were to say that they wanted to see the characters that they know do things, but I think that this is a good compromise, because like we don't need to see them, because at the end of the day their lives were still pained, right? Like Tanjiro was blind in one eye and couldn't use a hand, you know. Everyone was like had all these problems, and I think that that's not gonna be the same. Like it won't be the same. A lot of people want to follow the actual characters rather than reincarnations. I get that, and like I understand that that's a problem people have. But, like, I understand what Gotoge is doing, and so I'm not going to complain or say this last chapter is shit. I'm not going to, you know, tell anyone who thinks that they would have rather seen Tanjiro and Nezuko and Zenitsu and Inosuke together that they're wrong. But I will say that, like, I see what this last chapter is going for, and I do like it. So, hope/expectations for Gotoge in the future. I think the biggest problem with Gotoge in the future going forwards is that I don't see her biggest problem as a writer getting fixed. So I think that if Gotoge tries to do another series like Kimetsu, you could have problems. But I think if Gotoge does a slice of life fun manga, that's what she's been best at so far, and I think that that's something she could continue to do well throughout the series, or like she could do that. I just don't think that when Kimetsu sold as well as it did, I don't see Gotoge necessarily changing the thing about her writing that I guess people have issues with. So we'll have to see. I think I would rather Gotoge did like a fun slice of life, but I wouldn't be opposed to Gotoge doing another action manga. We'll just have to see what we get next. Yeah, well, I think, I mean, obviously the last chapter before this, 204, is supposed to be the chapter you're talking about, right? None, like, you know, you see everyone, they kind of do their thing. We see the end of their lives, basically, right? We see them go live out the rest of their lives. So obviously we don't see them have kids and get married and stuff, but we get an idea of it. And so it's very clear that, like, that's what that's going for. And now we're doing something a little bit different. And this is the whole point of this is like that reincarnation angle, and the fact that once demons are gone, everyone's just living a happier life. So, I mean, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that you do lose things for this, but I think that this last chapter isn't completely garbage like people were making it out to be. I do think that there is, like, value in what Gotoge was doing with it. That being said, that's all I have to say for Kimetsu. So next is Promised Neverland, I'm pretty sure. Yes, sir. So, this chapter was fucking good, dude. Like, I love this manga. It's just like, everyone's such, oh shit, I dropped my fucking headphone out of my ear. Unlucky! Like I did as soon as I actually started the chapter. I don't even know where it is. It's fucking dead. No! Whatever, I'll have to find it later. I actually don't even know where it went. It, like, bounced, and I think it's, like, way under my desk. Okay, so, yeah, so, like, I really like what this chapter was doing. There's a lot of stuff in it that, like, I really, really enjoyed. I mean, I love the idea that, like, you know, her kindness and love were genuine, which is why they remember how nice she was, because she did legitimately love them. I think my favorite line was, same as you go, you were the what-if versions of us, right? Like, they were the difference with, you know, Emma Ray and Norman was that they did something, right? Like, they just did it. They didn't constantly sit in what ifs. It was like, okay, well, we need to do this, so this is what we're going to do. And then them all crying, and then the fact that she fucking apologizes to Ray, and it feels bad that she couldn't give Ray the life that she did everyone else, physically hurts me. Like, that shit's too far. That's too much. Fuck you. Like, that shit, it's so sad. Because poor sweet boy Ray was forced to live this, like, bullshit life of constantly lying to his friends. And he had to be kind of like Mother was, like the mom was. And she apologizes because she is someone who understands what that's like, right? To constantly have to lie to everyone around you and try to, like, hide, like, the danger you're in. And it's so good. Like, the fact that she just apologizes to him, and then it ends with, like, go have fun, you know? Like, you know, go have fun in, like, the human world. It's fucking bullshit, dude. Fuck Promised Neverland, dude. That manga is too good. I can't handle it. That being said, I guess I don't have much to say. You know, this chapter was like a super emotional chapter, but that's really all I have to say about it. However, now we get to read my favorite manga in Weekly Shonen Jump. Let's talk about We Can't Study. Look, I mean, the best part of this chapter is the fact that, like, we're finally done with this shithole Rizu arc. If I were to say positive things about a manga that nothing positive should ever be said about, it would be that, like, probably the next chapter will be the last. Well, yeah, you're right, but I think the best thing is, like, the fact that it ends in the school, which is where it started, which is whatever. Like, it's, like, fine. It's not great, but it's something where I understand what's going on. I don't think any of this, like, the problem is, like, again, to reiterate things I've been saying for weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks, when you turn this into a route thing and you take away the fact that there is, like, a clear winner that, like, he should always have been with, I think that you end up basically putting yourself in a situation where every single arc matters less than the previous one, because all that happened that made this one different than the last one is that he saw the fireworks with her by chance, as opposed to seeing the fireworks with someone else by chance. And if all that chooses him to be with someone for the rest of his life is the chance of who he sees fireworks with, that takes all, like, care out of what's going on. Because why should I care who he ends up with when he could have ended up with anyone, and there's no real reason that he has feelings for one person over another? That's just bad writing, and it just makes you care less about all of them. So it means that I don't really care. Like, I cared more about the Uruka route, because at least I could tie it into thematically what was going on. The problem with the Uruka route was everyone else got shafted in terms of their character development, and now we know why everyone else got shafted in terms of their character development, and it's because they're getting their own new arcs now, so that when they get shafted there, they get it here, which means everyone else gets shafted here to get something later. And the problem with that is there's no one route where everyone gets character development and everything ties up nicely, because in every route, you're going to have 4 other girls who don't really have anything happen. And as we saw in the Uruka route, even when they say they've given up on Narayuki, they very clearly don't. So I think that, like, that's just, like, the main problem with this shithole manga. And, like, it makes it so that even if it did something that I liked, I just can't care as much now, because the manga's done taking steps to prove, to ensure that nothing really matters at this point. To try to appease everyone. And I don't think it's good. So that's all I have to say about We Can't Study. This manga is just bad. Let's move on to Dr. Stone. People getting shot in America. I think my favorite, like, Dr. Stone is just really fun a lot of the times, and that there are moments where it's really good. This chapter had a couple of them. I don't think it was as good as, like, the last chapter in terms of being cool. I did like the little gas they used to knock out the engine. What I did like is that we get a hot lady as the gunner. The people trying to gun him down in a fucking airplane, by the way. They have an airplane that she hung out of the side of and shot her gun while flying it, which was dope. And then I love that it ends and they fucking Senku and Ryusui's face in the last page as they're excited about the fact that they now own the plane is so funny. I just love it. I love the silly faces that you constantly get. Well, they even have like just silly faces constantly in the last few pages once they realize what's going on. Is they're now going to steal this plane and put it back together. It is so funny. I love it. I love how fucking dopey these two are, and they're kind of pieces of shit. But I think my favorite part is just he's like, the righteous kingdom of science is all too happy to accept this gift. It's just so funny. Like, Senku's just such like a fucking stupid man. I love him. It's just, yeah, they're just like dumb and stupid and funny, and I really like those. I really like the interactions between a lot of the characters. And then, you know, the fact that they have a fucking airplane is pretty wild. I'm excited to see what all. We also know that they have like a communicator, obviously, because she was talking to someone. So I think it's. I'm curious to see how advanced this America kingdom is, and see what they kind of have going on. And I mean, I think very clearly that like it's one of these things where they're like, oh, they're fighting, they're against each other, and then like they've reached like a level of peace, and they're like, oh, we don't have to fight because we're trying to fight the same people, the people petrifying us. I think would be like is like what's gonna happen, and it's gonna be like really, really cool, and so I'm definitely excited for that to happen. We also know for multiple things that obviously these people were also revived, as opposed to something like what happened with like Kohaku and Chrome and like their tribe, where they were never revived from stone. They were always just, you know, whatever you want to call them. They were like born and just lived in the world because they didn't get petrified. That's what I'm looking for. Definitely seems to be, yeah, they're definitely more industrialized, and they're definitely farther along technologically. Which I think is going to create an interesting thing, because like all of the other fights we've seen, right? It's like Senku has the advantage in terms of technology, right? He's fighting people lower than him technology-wise with just his brain. But now he has a full group, and he's going to be fighting people who are ahead of him technology-wise, which is going to be really interesting, I think. And it's going to cause a lot of, it's like kind of a different dynamic on it that I think is going to be really, really cool to see play out through the arc. That being said, that's most of what I have to say for Dr. Stone. Oh my god, I have a fucking little message on my phone. There's a text message. Okay. That being said, that's all of what I have to say for Dr. Stone. So next is Actage, I guess. This chapter was really good. I mean, it was exactly what I wanted. I'm pretty sure it was last week I mentioned it, that like I wanted to see how all of Yonagi's friends reacted to her like new fame, and that's what this entire chapter was, right? It was like her school year is starting, and so we see a lot of her friends, and like they're like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, hey, what's going on? And then she's also famous, and so like everyone's kind of keeping distance, and she mentions that like that's what happens, so she's fine. And then the Chad man comes out when they take a picture. I love him. And then I thought it was really cute the way she was like just being a big retard when everyone surrounded her, and she's like, no, I'm not dating Akira, and Ogami isn't violent. And they're like, no, you're definitely dating Akira. She's like, I'll call him right now, bitch. And they're like, you probably shouldn't call him. I thought it was really funny. And then that she just still wants to make new friends and invite them to the cinema club, my kind of lady. And we even see like there was that guy who's like, I'm, you know, gonna go to school with Yonagi. So I think there is definitely gonna be this level of like, she's gonna probably have a stalker at some point. I don't know if that's true, but it'd be pretty funny. I think it'd be an interesting thing to do if they gave her a stalker, or you know, we get a Yonagi OnlyFans, where she just posts videos of her like cooking for her family or something. Would be funny. She turns into a VTuber. Would be pretty good as well. She could be Chris. And then yeah, we get the ending that like, you know, they are in pre-production meetings for Kuriyama's movie. But first they're making a historical TV drama, which I think is interesting. I'm excited to see that happen. You know, Yanagi's gonna be a cool samurai lady or some shit. Fuck you, Dan. I'll fucking elude whoever I want. What the fuck kind of moral high ground you standing on? Yonagi's hot. She can have an OnlyFans where she cooks for her family, perfectly clothed. What's wrong with that? Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, asking for her nudes to leak is... No, it's not. That's normal. That's a normal celebrity, like, thing that happens. Like, if ACTDOJ doesn't cover it, I think it's not doing its job as a manga, right? Like, if the nudes aren't in the manga every week, starting next week, like, it failed as a manga, you know? I'm excited for the TV drama, though. I think that, you know, obviously we'll probably get one or two people that we've already seen. You know, I think it'd be really cool if we had Akira in the show, since we know he does a lot of TV work. But, you know, we'll have to see who's in it. Obviously, I think we'll see more people that we already know. Hopefully, Kuriyama's directing the show, but I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm definitely excited for it. I think that there's going to be something going on in the show because we saw that Kuriyama's, like, I guess, worried about it. Like, he called it an unnecessary risk. So I wonder if that means that, like, something that's going to happen in this show, he worries about being too much and, like, breaking Yonagi. Which is, like, really interesting, and I'm really curious to see what it is. And I think that, like, the fact that it shows her friends before that in the first bit of this chapter is going to be, like, insanely important. Because, like, the fact that she's in school and has a bunch of people at her school that support her and that she'd be friends with is definitely going to be important as she reaches this point where maybe, like, things start going really bad. Is when we're going to need to see, like, okay, she's upset and things are going wrong in her life. You know, maybe, like, the role she did broke her. So now she moves over to some kind of, like, alternate, like, she goes back to school and her friends and everyone there are the people that support her back up. Is, I'm sure, what we're going to end up... It could be something that is going to happen that would make a lot of sense. I think it could also, you know, that you could say that makes sense when you see, like, the fact that it was just a bunch of faceless suits came in to talk about it, which is something, you know, I think ACTDOJ has kind of definitely stated that, like, just the faceless suit corporations doing this kind of stuff, like, it's not bad, but it is maybe more harmful for the actors than people who care more about like, it's more harmful towards actors and the people making the art than people who just care about the art. While caring about the art can also be harmful. So I'm curious to see what's going on. But I'm not sure. I also don't know what Japanese celebrity culture is like because I'm not a Japanese celebrity or a Japanese person interested in celebrity culture in Japan. So yeah, I think it will be curious to see. But we'll have to wait, I guess. But that being said, I really liked this ACTDOJ chapter. I thought there was a lot of good stuff in it. I love her friends. So yeah, that being said, that's all I have to say for ACTDOJ. Next is Jujutsu Kaisen. That was a loud-ass clap. Holy fuck. Okay. You know, obviously, Sukuna's gonna come in and beat the shit. Like, he's gonna take over Itadori since Itadori fucking died. That's why we see him at the start, which is pretty spicy. So I was wrong about what the memory Choso saw. Because, yeah, I thought that it was gonna be like he didn't actually beat Itadori, but then we see that what was going on was that Itadori was one of his brothers, which is the memory you're seeing that was, like, mind-breaking him. Did you notice that the ability that Yugi used was the same one used in the fight with Todo to make him see Yugi as his friend? I didn't notice that, but that's really interesting, actually. I mean, I think that, yeah, like, it just makes it, like, what ended up happening made more sense than what I thought was going on. But I like that it's mind broken by the guy who killed his brothers being his brothers, and then you see two cute ladies that are gonna murder him. I really like this guy's power, this cool mustache man's power, where he, like, turns him into a painting and then just beats the shit out of him. I thought that was, like, really cool, and I love his fucking mustache. It's so cool. It's Chadley. And then you know, it's kind of gross. He spits out a bunch of bones and turns into like this big fucking beast monster. Literally turns into Cthulhu. I don't know who thought that was okay to just put Cthulhu in Jujutsu Kaisen, but the fucking there he is. He's got the fucking like tentacle shit. So that was, you know, that's something. It was a fun chapter. I mean, I again, like, Jujutsu's just a manga where I think, like, a lot of the times I think things happen, and I think those things are cool, and I like the art a lot. But I generally have a lot less to just say about it, you know? I really, really like that painting power. I think it's really cool. I mean, I assume what it is, you know, I mean, he looks like an artist, right? So I assume it's, you know, he puts him in, like, the painting or in whatever the fuck, and then he can just hit him with, like, full force. And then I wonder, you know, like, just a thought is, like, does it not work as well on stronger enemies? So can he not just put Cthulhu in it and beat the shit out of Cthulhu? Or is he gonna have to put Cthulhu in it and then have someone else beat the shit out of Cthulhu? And then, you know, he also... Yeah, it's just, it's exciting. Cthulhu does definitely fit in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. I definitely agree that, like, this big Cthulhu monster definitely fits aesthetically with everything else. It is still just weird to see Cthulhu, but I'm not that torn up about it. I think it's pretty cool. I think Jujutsu is really fun. Like, I really enjoy it. So, yeah. That's what I have to say. I mean, I'm curious to see what happens, I guess, when Itadori wakes up as Sukuna, because, like, how long is Sukuna going to take control? How does Itadori get control back when he basically died? Like, what's going to happen there? I think is going to be really interesting. And it's going to... I think that, like, you know, it's going to cause, like, more training from Itadori. And, like, you know, I can very easily see an arc where Sukuna has to do everything. And then somehow Itadori gets control back. But now it's like, okay, well, I still wasn't strong enough to do anything on my own. And so now he has to get stronger and find new powers and stuff like that. I think could definitely happen. That being said, that's all I have to say for Jujutsu Kaisen. So next is Chainsawman. Ooh, chapter 69, so you know it's a good one. I love Chainsawman. It's so fucking fun. And it, like, Chainsawman is just this fun, silly manga. And I love it. It's so great, okay? Because Denji is such a retard all the time. Like, he's just always stupid. And he's just, like, he literally turns the serious match with the demon into a game of tug of war. Like, there is literally a moment where they're just playing tug of war. And he just starts saying, oh, thank you for the follow. He literally, like, yeah, Tiller said, and it's so true. He's just saying Kingdom Hearts lines. Like, he says, I can regenerate too with light power. Because, like, what I love is that Denji's so stupid. Because, you know, he's like, okay, they're using the power of darkness. I'm going to light myself on fire. It's light power because it's the opposite of darkness. It's like, all right, dude, you need to calm down. And I love his entire, like, purpose is that if Makima dies, he doesn't get to go on his trip. The spread of him kicking the shit out of this demon is fucking awesome, actually. It's super cool. The art's super great. I love that he's still on fire. And then I just love as he picks up a car and slams it down. This is my shining power. And then still feels a need to just yell. Like, just saying, this is my shining power isn't enough. He needs to go, ah! Like, I love it, dude. He's so fucking stupid. I love Denji. Like, Denji is what makes Chainsaw Man fun. Because, like, it's not that he's self-aware, but I think it's very clear that the mangaka is self-aware when writing Denji. What's his name? I think Fujimoto's very self-aware when writing Denji, so it just makes it funnier, you know? Which, like, it's not, like, it's so funny that it makes the fights good as well, because, like, Denji screaming heave-ho while playing tug-of-war with a fucking darkness demon with his on-fire chainsaws, screwing about his light power is so funny. I like can't handle it. Especially when you consider that what at the end of the day, what's powering Denji is horny power. Like, Denji is such a simp that it's powering him up to light himself on fire and fight someone. Yeah, and I like that it's not meta about it, right? Like, it's not breaking the fourth wall. It's just Dingy is ridiculous, and this manga is ridiculous, but it holds to itself, and it's super fun, I think, because of that. And it caused me to, like, really, really like the manga a lot. It's super fun. I mean, I think that, like, Chainsawman just continue, like, it feels like the manga is trying to one-up itself constantly, right? Like, the last major fight, we had Dingy riding a shark man, right? He was using his chainsaw, like, what do you call him? It's not like a rope. It's the chainsaw, you know, whatever, like the rope thing, as reins to control a shark man he was riding against a giant baby kaiju and bomb person. And in this one, he's fighting someone... Chains, thank you. Oh my god. Am I fucking stupid? Chainsaw, and I couldn't figure out it was fucking chains. I'm retarded. I'm gonna kill myself. And this one, he's fighting a four-boobed darkness lady. So he lights himself on fire and then plays tug of war with her so he can go on a date with a girl. Like, this manga is just constantly one-upping itself, and I love that, because that means that, like, as it goes and it continues trying to one-up itself, it'll just get stupider and stupider and stupider, and that'll make it get better and better. I love it. Yeah, I try to one-up myself and get stupider and stupider, just like Chainsaw Man tries to one-up itself and get stupider and stupider. We're two pieces in a pod. That being said, I think that's all I have to say for Chainsaw Man. So next is Mitama. Ooh. No. Alright, boys. I'm so sad. I'm actually so sad. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Alright. Mitama Security Spirit Busters chapter view starts now. This chapter could be doing... Well, okay, well... See, I want to kill myself, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna do it yet. Because... Yeah, exactly. So, like, first of all, the first... how long? The first, like... 10 pages, 12 pages of this chapter are fucking great. Like, I was laughing a lot. They're super funny. I like it a lot. And then the last page happens. And I don't know if this means that it's getting canceled, or if this means that it's just moving into an arc, or if this is like the final arc and it's ending soon. And if it's ending soon and it's getting canceled, I'm going to cancel myself. Because, like, Mitama has started to become, like, one of my favorite newer manga, and it, like, legitimately makes me laugh every week, and I really, really enjoy it. And I even think, like, last week was, like, kind of actually fucking Kino as shit, and was, like, actually not even just a dumb, silly, fun chapter. Yeah, I mean, if this is a joke, and everything's fine next chapter, we're fine. But, if the manga's getting canceled, I'm dying. Like, I will not live, because I don't want Mitama to get canceled and Gravity Boys to continue, because, like, this manga is so fun. I actually really like Mitama, and, like, it was even doing some, like, Kino fucking shit with, like, him you know, making Yuko blush and being a sweet boy about how her and her spirits were good. And then there was even, like, something funny about, like, you know, Yuko noticed that Rina Hayes was, like, a certain way, and now it's gonna get canceled, and, like, Chris might be cute, but Chris isn't cuter than Yuko, so, like, what's even the point in living, you know? Like, there were so many good jokes this chapter, too. Like, the fact that he's talking about how he's scared of the spirits, and he's just, like, barely paying attention playing badminton with Zobiro, or that they play hide and seek, and he just watches them all. Like, he doesn't even close his eyes, and then when Zobiro goes, he fucking goes and closes his eyes. Is fucking great. And the way he scares him when he shows up is funny as well. Like, this chapter, like, this manga is just so fun and so funny, and I'm gonna kill myself when it ends, if it gets canned. So, I mean, I hope that this is just like a joke or a setup for an arc or something, and it's not actually getting canceled. But I could see a cancellation happening, and I don't want that, because that would make me sad. That being said, that's all I really have to say for Mitama. I agree, though, that Mitama is better than Agravity, like, in almost every way. I think it's, like, not even close. And I'm legitimately going to be sad if Mitama gets fucking canned. Which, I mean, you know, now that Kimetsu's done, like, and Zipman's got canceled, it's, like, a legitimate thing. Like, I think Guardian of the Witch is probably, safe to say, getting canceled. When you look at Volume 1's sales, they were abysmal. So I think Guardian of the Witch is probably gone, which is fine. But something else is gonna have to go, right? And I think it like, if you remember the last time a bunch of things got canceled, right? It was like Double Taisei, Yui Kamio Lets Loose, Tokyo Shinobi Squad. Let me go back and find them, because they all got canceled within like weeks of each other, right? Yeah, Yui Kamio Lets Loose got canceled, and Double Taisei had their last chapters on November 24th. Beast Children had its last chapter on December 1st, and then Tokyo Shinobi Squad had its last chapter on December 8th, right? And Double Taisei, Beast Children, and Tokyo Shinobi Squad all had their last chapters as chapter 27, and then Yui Kamio was 36. So Mitama is already at that point, because it's at 36 now, and Yozakura is at 35, but Samurai 8 also got canned at 43. So, like, the thing is, Mitama and Yozakura are reaching that point where, like, they're starting to, like, because I think once they really hit, like, 50 chapters, right, like, that's a big deal. That's a full year of serialization. And so, I mean, it's just going to depend, I think, from here, like, what happens in these next, 15 weeks for both of them, and how long will they actually continue to last in the magazine. I think it's doubly so with the newer things. I think that there's still a lot of time for... I think Undead Unluck is probably fine. It seems like it's doing pretty well, and people seem to really like it. As much as people in the West like Mashle, I don't know what the Japanese reception of Mashle is, so I can't really say that I think it's safe. I think it's also, so now we're at the point, I think, with a lot of these series where, like, the question of will they stay serialized is definitely starting to come up, and I think that that's, like, a really scary concept, because, like, Kimetsu's done now, but what happens next, right? Like, we know Burn the Witch is coming out in summer, so something else has to end before then, and even if that's Guardian of the Witch, I just don't see all the new manga staying, and if Gravity Boys continues to be popular, that means it stays and something else gets taken out, something that people like. So, I've been looking pretty consistently for what's going and, like, signs of what's getting fucking canned, but I haven't seen any. So, I mean, we're just gonna have to see. That being said, that's all I have to say for Mitama. So let's talk about Mission Yozakura Family. I love this manga. It's so good. There's so much that's, like, just great. I like the spy story stuff and how it's starting to kind of come together like a spy story with all this intrigue and, like, I also loved that, when they find out that Tayo's parents are at the wedding, Mutsumi, like, freaks out. Her soul leaves her fucking body, and then she's like, no, we have to get a divorce. I can't handle, she's just such a good person. She's so sweet and cute, and I love her. And then Tayo is... I love they have, like, a little, kind of dumb gay romance moment. And then, like, the manga even kind of makes fun of it and pokes fun at it. It's like, yeah, look, this is kind of dumb and stupid. Haha. It's not that Kino. And that's really funny. And then I love that he's like, this is selfish. Can you help me? And then the sister's like, no, we're family. And she just starts poking his eyes out. Kraftsdorf probably liked this librarian glasses lady. She definitely seems like the kind of girl he would like, with the glasses and the, I don't know, just it seemed very Kraftsdorf. But I like that we find out they were fucking, Ken Popo was trying to, they were trying to murk him, trying to axe him. And then, I like the fight. I like that, he has to listen to them for advice, and then Mutsumi chads out and beats the villain. Um, and like the one thing I really liked was that like even though they knocked her out, Taiyo is still like carrying the girl on his back and probably taking her somewhere a little bit safe, which is pretty great because he's just a good boy at the end of the day, which I like a lot. I mean, I'm excited for the. I mean, we already obviously we knew something was going on when it comes to Taiyo's family, right? Like the few chapters ago, it was like hinted at, and so we know something's going on, and now we know more so that okay, well, there was a hit out and they fucking died because somebody wanted them to die, and now I'm curious to see what that is. But even with what we have, I think it's pretty good. So yeah, I mean that's really it for Mission Yozakura family. Again, I like this manga a lot, but now let's talk about Agravity Boys. I mean, I just don't like. That's whatever. The worst part about the manga is that like the best part of the manga is over and like had one page that was like a joke dedicated to it, but like Streamer Chris was like the best part of the manga so far. I'm tired of this joke that Grizlaw doesn't know that Chris is a boy yet. Like it's played its course, and I'm ready for the payoff of Grizlaw finding out. And then it tried to do some dumb bullshit friendship angle with this weird fucking Mohawk kid about like, oh, he was so dumb and stupid that it made me smile, and now I am friends with him. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not friends with you because you're not cool. Haha. Look at that. I don't care. So it's just, Gravity Boys is a manga. I mean, I'm just tired of it, and I'm just ready for it to end, honestly. I'm not, like, the problem is, I don't think it might not end anytime soon, not anywhere soon, but, like, hopefully it does, because I'm just tired of it. Like, it's not necessarily, Jesus Christ. It's not necessarily just that, what the fuck is going on? People are losing their minds in my Discord. I don't even know what's going on. Sorry, I'm getting like a bunch of messages. Okay, so I'm curious how much of a Guided Boy success is from girls thirsting over. I think it's definitely Fujoshi's. I think that like the Fujoshi audience is a large part of the Gravity Boys. Like, if you have a Venn diagram of Fujoshis who read Jump and people who like Gravity Boys, it's a circle. So, I mean, I don't really care. Don't say that to me, AAA, because a sizable portion of haikyuu's success is how kino it is and how good it is. Don't fucking speak that word to me ever again. But it's okay. I mean, I don't think Gravity Boys will last that long, and even if it does, as long as other things that are good continue to stay in the magazine, I think we'll be fine. But that being said, that's most of what I have to say about Gravity Boys. Yeah, he goes like reverse Super Saiyan and was like cool as fuck. Like he actually like chatted the fuck out. I loved that he like made like multiple copies. Like he had like 3 versions of himself all beating the shit out of this guy at the same time, which was like really, really cool. It's having multiple personalities has also an explanation why the coat can't take him over. Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, I think it already, was that his clothes couldn't because he was too particular about like if he was going to wear clothes, the clothes had to be very specific, and the clothes couldn't be like his perfect pair of clothing. But yeah, that's also like another explanation. I like the idea that like her luck literally doesn't work on him because she can tell it's not Andy and she has no feelings for him, so she like can't use unluck on him. I thought was really cool. And then I really like the spread of her talking to Andy about how she wants to keep doing shit with Andy because together they're like it's fun being with him and stuff. And then like it's so cool that all the other 10 show up here. Some of them are fucking cool. I like the one that looks like M. Bison. And you know, it makes sense because like you start with the color page, right, showing all of them, and then you go from the color page showing all of them to them all showing up at the end of the chapter. So I'm excited to see, because we'll get a little bit of all of their powers, I'm sure, as they beat the shit out of Andy and just shove a card back into his face. And I like that, like, because now this adds like an interesting idea going forwards, where okay, well, he gets way stronger if you pull out the card, but if you pull out the card, then now he loses, you know, some of who he is. So then at some point, will we get like he has the card out, but then Andy fights back and overpowers the other version of Zombie Man and is able to, you know, to change kind of who he is, right? I think it'd be really, really cool. So we'll see. I mean, I like Undead Unluck a lot, and I'm excited for it to keep going. But I'm not sure. That being said, that's all I really have to say for Undead Unluck, so it's time for Mashle. Alright, so Mash is just like the coolest man of all time. I like how he's like, he just stands there, and then this big ass scorpion comes up, and Mash just like, he's just like, get the fuck out of here, I'm busy, like, fuck you. It's so funny. And then I love, look, the second Mash got behind her, I was like, oh my god, is he gonna fucking German suplex this bitch? And bam! He folded her in half. Look at this, look at this. People don't fold like this. Like, he folded her in half because he's a Chad. And he says, I believe in equality, my hero. We stand. I respect that shit. And then I love that I don't know his name. I don't think he has a name yet. But red hair, good delinquent boy. Like, I like that he gets fucking broken by the cute lady. And then he, that's why you're a Mashle fan account. Well, and then, like, he very clearly now is part of the, like, the group, right? Like, in the last page, you see him along with Mash's other friends. Like, it's very clear, like, he's gonna join, like, their group of, like, friends. And then I like that they're talking about, like, the idea is, right, that, you know, even this guy who has, like, the star is still kind of a nobody. And that this, like, upper level of mages is trying to keep the lower level from entering, you know, the Bureau of Magic and trying to hold them back. And they're the Magia Lupus. And some of them look pretty cool. Well, okay, there's a cute girl with twin tails, who I like. I like this man. I like Voldemort. Bald head, big fucking bulgy eyes, no nose. Voldemort's just in the manga now, which is pretty cool. And I like that Chad Bash, here's the name, was like, I used to make that up when I was 12. Like, you're a fucking Judy. I love him. What do you mean, how can I like their silhouettes? Francie, these aren't silhouettes. Are you on drugs? Look, this is not a silhouette. This is a person, okay? I see her twin tails. I see her expression. She's cute. This man is Voldemort, okay? Bald head, big eyes, no nose. Like, those aren't silhouettes. We saw real people. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's Chadley. I like that now we have like the enemy faction in the school, right? And so now it's gonna get really fun, I think. I'm curious, like, how long is it gonna be before we find out this red-haired boy's name? Because we don't know it yet, and he's been around for like 5 chapters now or something. Oh, Twin Tails is definitely a yandere. You're super right. And she's definitely going to be super horny for Mash's muscles. And she's going to try to kill him. And Mash is going to beat her up because he believes in equality. And if he doesn't, it's going to be... Well, I think what's interesting is, like, at this point, right? Like, Mash is very clearly a comedy manga. But at what point does Mash also become more... Because, like, the last 2 chapters have been more than just a comedy manga, right? Like, Mash has obviously been, like, insanely strong and stronger than everyone else. But I think you can even look back past that and see, like, the whole time there's been, like, a certain amount of, like... Not, like, necessarily a battle shonen, but there, you know, it's taken itself seriously at moments, right? And then it'll have a joke, but it doesn't undercut those serious moments with jokes. And I think you can even look at, like, you know, when you look at something like Mitama, or you look at, you know, Gravity Boys, or Gintama, right? They don't have, like, a serious goal the whole time, you know? It's very much okay, well, it's a comedy, and there's not really anything going on. But like MASH, even from the start, has like a goal he's working towards. And like that goal, like there's already like themes starting to pop up and things going on. And so like, at what point does Mashle, is it already, and does it really start to become like more of something else, right? And when we start fighting the Magia Lupus, like if they're strong enough that he can't just beat the shit out of them, like do his friends also get fights, you know? Does it turn into something that's more like akin to like a typical battle shonen? Does Mashle get to last long enough to really show its hand here? I think are all really, really interesting questions, and I'm really curious to see what Mashle does, because I think unlike the other gag manga we have, right? Unlike Mitama, unlike Agravity Boys, unlike Moriking, I think that Mashle very clearly is like riding the line harder than them, and the other like, you know, battle shonen that we have, like Undead Unluck, is much more on the action side of things and much less on the comedy side of things. Bone Collection is obviously like much more on the action side of things and does have comedy, but it's focusing, it's clear that it's going to focus more on the action as it goes. And so I think what's interesting is that like Mashle is very clearly riding that line, and I think it's not only is it riding that line, I think it's doing better at both than any of its other like any of its I guess rival, like anything else that's around that length in the magazine. It's doing it better than they are, which I think is really interesting, because it means that like as long as Mashle gets to stay, I think it's insanely interesting to see what happens with it and how it goes. Oh, we do have the name? I swear to God I was looking through and I couldn't find it, but maybe I'm just retarded. Okay, Dot Barrett? Okay, well, I love him. He's such a good, sweet man. So yeah. I mean, that we'll see. I think with Mashle, a lot of it just does come down to what it does from here. But I'm definitely curious. All right. You guys named from the wiki? Okay. Well, unlucky. That being said, I think that's really all I have to say for Mashle. Let's talk about Guardian of the Witch. This manga's fine. I mean, I think when you see how poorly it sold, right? I mean, it's selling worse than Samurai 8 was when they were paying people to take. Okay, well, I can't keep saying that because I don't think people know that I'm joking. Well, no, I assume they are, but like Guardian of the Witch Volume 1 didn't sell well. This manga's fucking dead. I know they say sales aren't everything, but like if your Volume 1 in the first week it's out is in the top 160. I think it was like 165 or something, or maybe lower. It's probably not gonna fucking stick. Especially not in Weekly Shonen Jump. So I think that it's fair enough, I think, to say that like chances are Guardian of the Witch is dead, which is good, I think, because this fight is really boring. I think that like there were interesting ideas going into the fight, but I just like. Even, yeah, well, like, I like the idea of the flame shield, and he has, like, a sword and shield. I like that she has to, like, kind of limit the amount of magic she uses because she doesn't want to go evil, and I, like, while I was reading, I was like, okay, well, there could be a point where she goes past that limit and is fine because of her relationship with fucking Fafnir or whatever. I just don't think it's, like, there. I don't, like, for a manga that, like, generally kind of centers itself around sword combat, I don't think that the sword fighting is very well drawn. And I think that it's easy for me to tell that because I just read all of Kimetsu and then Bleach before that, where I think there is like really good sword combat and like they're drawn well. I don't think Guardian of the Witch has that. I think it's kind of a problem with Guardian of the Witch. And I think that there's just like clearer issues, I think. I don't know. I'm not too into the fights. I don't think there's a lot of super cool stuff. And then, Fafnir just loses to magic. Like, literally not even to the sword fight. He just gets gravitied into the ground, and it's like, that's the end of it. And it's like, okay, well, the only place they can go from here is they decide, maybe Manifasa runs in and says some shit, and then they're like, okay, well, you're right. We'll let you go. Like, that's the only way this can really go. So, I mean, I just don't really, like, I've already talked enough, I think, about what I think's going on with, like, the idea that he says that gravity magic changes the rules, but in reality, he's bending the rules to fit his will because he's someone who doesn't really want to follow the rules, but feels like he has to because of his past. This chapter didn't really do anything to further that. So I think next chapter will kind of be the payoff. Next chapter has to be the payoff for that, since this chapter ended with Fafnir with the sword to his neck. So like, and because we know that that's what's happening, because you can very clearly tell that that's what is being gone for, like thematically with this fight. I think it takes a lot away from like the, oh my god, the sword's to his neck, how's he gonna get out of this? It's like, well, it's very clear how he's gonna get out of this, right? It already even hinted that the cute Gravity Witch is like, well, you know, I kind of don't want to hurt people anymore. And it's like, well, okay. She's like, are they really bad people? It's like, no, and you don't think they are, and neither does the other guy, and you're both gonna agree that next chapter. So I'm just not that really interested in what's going on in Guardian of the Witch. I don't think it's doing anything. I don't think it's doing, not only is it not doing anything to stand out, I don't think it's doing anything good enough to stay on its own in the magazine. So I expect Guardian of the Witch to get canceled. I'm at the point where I'm not, like, it's not like a Gravity Boys where I want it to get canceled and I can't wait, but it's that I don't feel like I'm going to lose anything when it does get canceled, right? Like, when Guardian of the Witch is gone, I'm not going to be like, oh, so sad, I miss Guardian of the Witch, right? It'll be like, okay, well, it probably needed to be, and that's where we'll go from there. That being said, that's most of what I have to say for Guardian of the Witch. So now I'm going to read Moriking. If she's a praying mantis, that means she'd kill me if we had sex. Okay, the Moriking chapter review starts now. Moriking is fine. I mean, it had some fun, like, I mean, I think my favorite part of the manga is, like, by far, like, Shoko's faces. Like, not even just because it's Shoko. I think that, like, they're funny on anyone. But I think that because Shoko specifically plays the straight man a lot of the time, I think she's allowed to have, like, all the great reaction faces. And she has a lot of really good ones. Like, here, I'll point some of them out. I really like this one. Here, can I zoom in? I can. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't let me. Sad. I really like this one right here. I thought was really funny. There was another one on the next page. This one was great. I really like the joke here where, like, she turns into, like, kind of this color in the background, and then she turns black later. I thought, like I think her reaction faces are, like, by far the best part of the manga. You know, this chapter is about getting the praying mantis girl, which is, you know, it's a thing, I think. I mean, it's fine. I did like that when he was talking about what it means to be a king, she just starts crying and then walks away. And I mean, this is the first time we've seen we've seen another insect. So now, you know, okay, so we have a beetle, we have a praying mantis. I'm sure we'll get all different kinds of insects that are all different kinds of things, and I think that that's, like, going to be something that kind of gets fun as it goes, is the idea that, you know, it's not just going to be like beetles, right? It's going to be, you know, praying mantis or whatever, and I think that, like, as it goes up to a point and we see more of those, it's going to be more fun. I am curious to see what a battle's like, because she's like, we have to battle, and then they ended up not battling, so I'm not sure. We'll see, but I thought the chapter of Moriking was fine. It wasn't the best. I mean, again, the faces are really good, but I haven't read Time Paradox Ghostwriter, but with all the good news I've been hearing about it and all the high praise, I assume that Moriking will be my third favorite of the newest series, so we'll see. What if there's a fly that has massive fly eyes and they hide him with 6 shades? That would be fucking great, actually. I would love that shit. His main rival would probably be a stag beetle. That'd also be pretty cool. I'd love a beetle versus beetle fight. And I would love someone with massive bug fly eyes. Someone with, like, a big mosquito nose. What else could you do? What are other bugs you catch in Animal Crossing? You could have... There would probably be, like, a spider at some point, right? Even though that's not an insect, I could see, like, a spider or, like, something. There will probably be a dragonfly at some point who, like, breathes fire or some shit and just becomes, like, an actual dragon. Hornet girl that bullies a bee girl. That'd be funny, too. We'll see what there is. But that being said, I want to read Bone Collection. So we're going to go on to Bone Collection. Bone Collection is just fucking good. Like, it's so fun. I love it. Pyra is super cute, and, like, every time she does something, it continues to be better. I love her fighting with the childhood friend. She calls a cat burglar is funny. I really like the way she just starts taking her clothes off at one point. Is super funny. Yeah, there's some Kino. It was so like I like when she got tied up and then she's like, well, joke's on you. I like being tied up. Was funny. I love that they were playing. She's like, you have to do a short hop there. Like the game they were using was Smash. Because there's a Switch. I was like, when you see like, I don't know if it's necessarily like stuff that's like real life, but you kind of get an idea of what the mangaka likes. Right? Like when he starts saying you need to like short hop into a neutral air, like you can tell, okay, well the man probably plays a little bit of Smash Brothers if he's able to like start saying shit like that, you know? And then just the fight was fun. I mean, Pyra is just the god of cute faces as well. Like, she's funny. And then I like the idea at the end of play Smash Ultimate. Oh, it says the Smash 4 player. Oh, wow. I think it's you know, it's fun. I am curious to see how they get out of like the predicament next time where they have to defeat an A rank yokai with just like their powers. Oh my god, you're right. The dad wasn't in this chapter, and he's like the fucking best character of this manga, so it's a little unlucky. But it's definitely fun, and I'm curious to see, you know, how are they gonna beat a fucking A rank yokai without using Pyra's fucking yokai powers? Are they gonna have to tell at some point Reno that he's using the yokai powers and just deal with that? Like, what's gonna happen? I think it's gonna be interesting. And I also think that like there's like a certain level of like something's going on. You know, I'm curious to see what like another yokai fight is that, you know, isn't just like a one-off one chapter fight. Because, you know, he's used 3 powers in 3 chapters, but I think at some point, you know, we're gonna have to see a like 2-3 chapter fight, which is obviously much shorter. But when you're at 3 chapters, you know, if you have, say, the next arc be like a small 3 chapter mini arc, that's half the manga. And I think that we need to see how Bone Collection handles something like that to really know how it's going to be going forwards. But either way, I mean, it definitely is a manga I really, really like. I don't know. It's surprising to me, I think, how much I really enjoy Bone Collection. But, like, even already, I like the main character. I like Pyra. I kind of like what the manga is about. I like what it's going for. And so when you look at all of that together, it really is starting to become something that I'm really, really enjoying. So I'll have to see where Bone Collection goes from here. But it's already something that, like, I'm kind of digging. So that being said, that's really all I have to say for Bone Collection. Now I get to read the new manga, Time Paradox Ghostwriter. I can't believe Bakuman 2, or chapter review starts now, I'm sorry. I can't believe Bakuman 2 Electric Boogaloo is so fucking insane already. First of all, this chapter is really good. I fucking love this main character. He's a fucking hero. I really like him. You know, I like the premise a lot too. Like, I just really like the idea of, you know, he's doing someone else's manga from 10 years in the future, and now they're already upset that he's stealing their idea. You know, I think it is interesting, and obviously it's going to become a problem that he said it was his. The editor-in-chief was a fucking homie, Chad. I hope that the current editor-in-chief of Jump is this much of a fucking hero. Because if so, then, like, thank God, because I fucking love this editor-in-chief. Like, what I thought was interesting about this, and I don't want to keep comparing this to just Bakuman every time I talk about it in the future, but I think I will just in one way really quickly. Something that I loved about Bakuman is their editor, like their first editor, because he's such a fucking hero, and he's such a Chad, and he's so good. And actually, most of the editors, they do have one pretty bad editor at one point, but that's like a whole plot point. I think that, like, having a good editor, like, I love the editor character as like a way to push a mangaka forwards, especially a mangaka who's driven, like the way the editor can push them to continue to make a good manga and to continue to push their manga forwards. I think is always like a really fun idea. What are you talking about? What are you doing in my chat, bro? Alright, you're getting fucking... Alright, I'm timing you out, dude. Yeah, goodbye. Jesus. At least he followed after I fucking gave him a timeout. Yeah, I think that there's like some good stuff in this chapter. There's some stuff I really, really liked. And then, you know, this girl's really cute, and I like that it ends. She's 17 years old, and, you know, her manga was taken. And, you know, I'm curious to see what happens from here. Because, like, okay, so just to talk about this at the end really quickly, right? I think something that I thought was, like, super, super interesting. Oh, my God, Kraftsdorf just banned him. What a homie. Kraftsdorf's just like, I'm not dealing with this shit, bitch. He already got timed out. Kraftsdorf lays down the ban hammer. Something I like is like the I like you can tell right here, you know, she's putting so much care and detail in this manga, right? That like she's workshopping the title of it and is accepting which title she wants. Which I think is super interesting. You know, I really like that. Like I like that you can tell that she's putting. Oh, was his name The Good Guys Lost World War II? Fuck you, Kraftsdorf. God, I didn't know his name was The Good Guys Lost World War II. I wasn't paying attention. I don't know some main characters indicating that there really is talent the MC has. Yeah, well, I think that, like, what's interesting is, right, that, like, you even see the MC, like, sure, he takes the idea of the manga and a lot of what happens, but he's also changing things, right? You see, he's like, okay, well, it's a one-shot, so I need to cut some pages out. So I cut this out. This is, like, kind of set up for later, so this doesn't need to be in here. Maybe this dialogue works like this, but this dialogue could maybe be changed. You know, I think that, like, he is putting his own spin on White Knight, and I think that that is going to become a major thing, is that, sure, he's taking this other person's manga, but he's putting his own spin on it. And like you said, like, if the editor-in-chief liked his previous manga, that means that there probably is some talent. And I'm curious if once we learn about that other one-shot, was that one-shot maybe something that only he could make? I think another really interesting idea that the series could go in is if his manga becomes kind of... Because, like, when you look at the manga he made, right, something that, like, instantly struck out to me about it is that, first of all, it doesn't really look like our main character's art style. And, like, when I look at this one shot, right, I see, like, okay, the face kind of looks a little bit like Luffy, and then with how he's dressed, like, the you know, I could see it being something where, like, the manga that he made as the one shot was like a culmination of all these other manga that have influenced him into wanting to be a mangaka, and so that, like, that's what he's good at, is kind of taking things he sees and using those influences and the passion he gets from other people's manga to make his own. And that could also be, you know, like, the first manga that he made that he was like, he had a vision for was someone else's. So I could see that being like a whole thing with him, where what it comes down to is, like, he loves the like other manga affect him so much that is kind of what helps him push his manga forwards. And so I could see that being kind of what ends up happening with this. I think what happens in the next chapters, I'm really interested for, like, how's this girl gonna come into things and shake things up, and how's she gonna affect it? Is she gonna try to kill him? Is she gonna, you know, tell him that he has to give the manga to her? So he has Ponytail as an editor in his own. What does that mean? I don't know what you're saying to me. Oh, wait, that says potential. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, he said potential and I read it as Ponytail? Alright, well, that's the end of the fucking... Alright, I'm not talking about Time Paradox Ghostwriter anymore. We're moving on to the fucking weekly awards. Here's the question. Do I piss people off and do it, or do I not? I think I do. Yeah. Well, okay. I think I got it. I think I'm good to go. What's spread of the... Okay. Alrighty. Here we go. Let's get into it. Alright. People aren't going to like my top 3, I think. I think people are going to be mad at me. Alright. First of all, for spread of the week, I'm going to give it to the Chainsawman spread. Here, I'll pull it up really quickly. People were saying it was spread of the week, and I was like, I don't know. But this week didn't really have, like, a bunch of, like, super fucking phenomenal spreads. So I'm giving it to this Chainsawman one. I really like it. Dingy's just so cool. So that's spread of the week for this week. My top 3 chapters. Okay, so number 3 is the first chapter of Time Paradox Ghostwriter. I thought it was really, really entertaining. And I'm really curious to see where the series goes from here. I think it's going to be interesting to see, and I think it did a really good job of setting up what's happening. My second favorite chapter of this week was the Promised Neverland. It was a really, really good chapter. I really liked it. I thought it was super fun. It was super good. It was like a really good payoff to Mom and her entire arc. It was really sweet, and I think it did a good job of like kind of paying off for a lot of what we had from the manga so far. And my favorite chapter this week was Kimetsu's final chapter. I actually really liked it. I thought it was really good. I think that what it was doing in terms of the manga was good, and I think that like what I respect about it the most is that I think that Kimetsu did something that most manga I think wouldn't do, right? I think Kimetsu took a chance with what it decided to do that a lot of series in its position would not do, right? They would just have a chapter of the main characters. And I think that what Kimetsu did, not only is it good, I think it fits the series better than if it had given us what what people I think really want from a final chapter. I think when you look at what Kimetsu is largely about and what this final chapter, like the point it serves, I think that it served that point really well, and I think it did a really good job at that. And I was like, I think the thing that really made it my favorite this week was that like I was going into the Kimetsu chapter still expecting to not actually like it that much, and I think that when I read it, I realized why I liked it and what I think it was doing. I also think that like the Kimetsu final chapter is kind of a, it has a lot of the same issues that the rest of the manga does, but I think that it's still like was a good final chapter to the manga. And I think it did what it was it accomplished what it was setting out to do. So that's really where I stand on those chapters. I know people didn't like the last chapter of Kimetsu, and people just probably aren't going to be happy that I said it was my favorite, but whatever. I'm my own bitch, so I do what I want. That being said, thank you guys for watching the stream or watching the YouTube version of it. Like I mentioned a couple times, I am planning to make a video on Kimetsu that should be out hopefully this week, if not next week. And I want to do more streams like this. Like there were a bunch of people who came out. I did a stream a couple days ago where we just hung out and I reviewed 3x3s for 5 hours because people kept sending me more 3x3s and tier lists. And I want to do more IRL streams like that, or kind of like these jump streams where I just sit around and hang out with chat. So if that sounds like something you might want to do, be sure to follow me on Twitch. And you can see what's going on. I also should have mentioned this at the start. Okay, wait, actually, okay. Never mind. Thank you guys for watching. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm, taking, I guess, ideas or like images for Twitch emotes because I need a Twitch emote. I need 2 Twitch emotes actually. So if you have any faces of me or things you think could work really well as emotes, send them to me and I'll do that. Either way though, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, subscribe to the Weeb Club, and thank you guys for watching.